welcome back to Mr. Glover's Kitchen. So we have our third practical lesson today, which is the dairy-free cookies. Now, if you remember, a few weeks ago, we learned all about lactose intolerance. So if you look at the ingredients that we have here, there is no dairy whatsoever. The buttons are dairy-free buttons, okay? And there's no milk, there's no butter being used at all. Now, I've already put the 32 grams of coconut oil into my bowl. Now, this is already soft, okay? I kept it in my cupboard, so not in the fridge, so it's already nice and soft. If it's not soft, you need to really push it and work it, okay? When you start pushing it down and pressing it and moving it around, you're creating that friction as you're rubbing against the bowl, which is going to help heat it up. Now, the first step is we get both the sugars, okay, and we put them in, okay? Both the sugars go in, and what we're going to do here is we're now going to start mixing and combining all of this together using our wooden spoon, okay? So let's mix that up and let's come back to it afterwards. So what you can see now is you can see that the sugars and the coconut oil have all mixed together. Now, you won't have it as one big blob in there. It will be this little flaky paste, almost looks a bit like sand. Think about sand on a beach. That's kind of what you're going for. Now, what I should have said at the beginning is the oven should be preheated. Now, you're looking to preheat it to 180 degrees C, okay? 180 degrees C, or gas mark 4. So that should be done right at the beginning. Now, the coconut milk looks absolutely disgusting when you take the top off, and that's because it's all separated. So what you actually need to do is you actually need to mix, get a spoon and mix it all around. That's just going to make it all combine again, and so it's not too lumpy. Now, I thought I'd take this opportunity to go through how we actually measure things out in the first place. So you notice here, I've got my scales. Well, I'm going to put the coconut milk in the jug. I'm not going to turn it on yet until the jug is on, because now when I press on, it will automatically be set at 0. So now I can get my coconut milk and I can start pouring that in to get the desired amount. Now, that's too much at this stage, so we're going to pour some back in and check we get it right. Now, that needs to be 30 milliliters, so not a lot at all, so that's still too much. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the spoon and I'm going to continue to mix what's in here, really try and just combine this all together. And I'm going to tip that in, just like so. Now, what I also need is just a little bit of vanilla extract at this point. So, just a tiny little splash like that. And again, start mixing this all together and combining it all up. So don't worry if this starts looking a little bit liquidy, should we say. That's because the next thing to go in is the flour. And as we know, the flour is going to make that much thicker. Okay, what we also then need is our bicarbonate of soda. So we get a teaspoon being the small one. Okay, so we get a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, not a lot, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Again, not a lot. And just put those in there. And what we can now do is we can now start mixing all of this together. And it should all combine to form our nice dough for our cookies. So you can see what's happened after a little bit of mixing. It's suddenly started becoming a much thicker substance, okay? And it's all combined together. Now, what I need to do next is I need to pop my chocolate buttons in. Now, my chocolate buttons are quite big, so I have broken them down a little bit, but these all now need mixing into the dough. Okay, mix it all together. So what we've actually done here is, if you look, you saw before it was all sticking around the base here. So using a teaspoon, a small spoon, just put an extra teaspoon of flour in. And I just did that twice, because what you want is you want a thick dough, and it should all stick together rather than to the bowl. So look, as you're moving it around, it's coming off the bowl and holding together. Now the size of the chocolate chips, I mean, it's struggling to all properly stay. Now if I was doing this properly, what I'd have done is I'd have smashed the buttons into lots of small pieces so that the dough would all hold together. Now you then, with your hand, you should have washed hands and nice clean hands. Literally, just get a ball of it like this and just flatten it all down, compress it all down, and you're looking to make a disc about that sort of size, okay? And then you place it on your baking tray. Now, these are going to expand. They get big, okay? So you need to make sure that the ball of mixture that you use isn't too big, that it's no bigger than that size there, about a 50p piece. No bigger than a 50p piece. And when you spread them out, I'm not gonna put any more than 3 in a row on here. I'm gonna make sure that I'm giving these plenty of space to expand, because they will expand, okay? So, we'll come back once we've got all 6 on the tray. So I've laid them out on my tray, and like I say, I've left plenty of space for them to expand and get bigger. In fact, what I might do is I might just move them all a little bit nearer to the center. Really important, you've got your grease-proof paper down. And now what we do is we put them in our preheated oven. Now, it should take somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes. So 12 to 15 minute timer, let's see how they come out. In the meantime, I can start prepping the rest of the mixture to make my second batch. Okay, let's see how that works out. These just come out of the oven. They took exactly 12 minutes. So I set my timer for 12, checked on them, and this is what they should look like. You see, they're a lovely golden brown, and those 50p pieces have expanded. Okay, now I'm quite happy with the consistency, to be fairness. These 5 look about the same. This one a little bit smaller. Now, when you first take them out of the oven, they're going to feel very squashy. Okay, you should be able to press them down. These have been out of the oven for a minute or 2 to cool down, and already they've become much harder. Okay, so don't make the mistake of leaving them in thinking, oh, and they need to get harder. They won't. Take them out when they're soft, and I can move this to the side and use the rest of my mixture to make my next batch. Okay, but that's what they should be. Still soft to press, but they will go more crunchy as you get on. So hopefully you enjoyed doing that. Please, please, please keep sending me your photos, okay? I've loved seeing the pizza pinwheels and the cheese straws that you've been sending me. They do go on my Twitter, so have a look at Mr. AJ Glover, and you can see your cooks all put up there, and you do get Rushy rewards as well, especially if they look as good as the ones that I've been receiving. Annoyingly, they always seem to come out better than mine. But anyway, hope you enjoy this video, hope you get on with it okay, and I'll see you all next lesson.